welcome to the Veterinary Marketing Podcast, where it's all about helping your veterinary practice attract, engage, and retain clients. Broadcasting a new podcast every Monday from sunny Southern California, here's your host, Brandon Bashirs.
Hey there, everybody. Welcome to episode number 109 of the Veterinary Marketing Podcast. I hope you're having a fantastic day. Today is an episode with just me. I've been having some guests on, but today it's just me, and we are going to be talking about minimum viable marketing. It's something that I've been thinking about. It's kind of like a phrase that I picked up. I'm not sure where I picked it up from, but I've been thinking a lot about it, specifically within the people that I've been talking to in the veterinary industry that are having trouble getting their marketing done. And so I think this is going to be a very, very helpful episode for anybody who does marketing in a veterinary hospital or any other marketing for that matter. A lot of times people and a lot of people online who are talking about marketing saying you need to do everything. And of course it would be good to do everything and be everywhere. You know, have an active YouTube channel, have an amazing Instagram account, have an amazing Snapchat account, have an amazing Facebook page, have a Twitter account that you respond immediately to. But the truth is a lot of practices don't have the time to do that. And so today we're going to be talking all about how to create the most effective campaigns, how to create the most effective marketing without having to, and with being realistic and not having to be just totally devoted to creating your content. Now, I think that the more you can do, the better you're going to stand out. And we'll be talking about that in just a second. So I think, though, it's going to be a very, very beneficial episode for everybody. So be sure to listen all the way through. And before we begin, I'd like to mention a few things. First, if you haven't done so already, be sure to subscribe on iTunes, or you can subscribe in Google Play. If you're an Android user, I have a special request for you. I have a new app that I made. It's called the Veterinary Marketing app. If you search for it in Google Play, you can find it. If you could download it and tell me how it looks and how it works, that would be amazing. I just created an app using a app creator, did it all myself just to see how it would work. I'm going to do an episode about that here in the near future, but it was pretty cool. I'm waiting for the iTunes approval, so I can't see it yet, but I would love to get some feedback on it if it works. If it doesn't, what's up with it. I haven't been able to test it yet because I don't have an Android device anymore. I'm on the Apple train nowadays. So if you could do that, that would be amazing. Just send me a message on Facebook. I'd also like to mention that if you, there's a lot of cool things on that app too, by the way. My 31 veterinary marketing blog post ideas are there. There's a scheduling feature where you can contact me and get some time with me if you have any questions about marketing, and just a bunch of cool things. So be sure to download that. And if you haven't done so already, connect on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, wherever you'd like to connect. I'm there and I'm happy to talk to you. So if you ever have any questions, comments, need help with anything, please don't hesitate to reach out. I'd also like to mention that this episode is being sponsored by snoutschool.com. Do you ever feel like you're wasting time with your veterinary hospital social media efforts? Veterinary practice manager Danielle Lampert has put together a list of 5 awesome social media tools that every hospital needs to succeed. Danielle is dedicated to teaching veterinary hospitals to use social media via her website, snoutschool.com. So go to snoutschool.com/Brandon to get her list of 5 must-have social media tools now. You'll learn how to create professional-looking social media graphics, you'll save time by scheduling posts, and you'll find out where your clients are spending time online. Not only that, she's got great tips for getting your whole veterinary team to understand the importance of social media. So head on over to snoutschool.com/Brandon to get her 5 must-have social media tools for your practice today. That's snoutschool.com/BRANDON. All right, so let's get into today's episode. It's a minimum viable marketing. And what kind of made me think about this is that there's a thing called a minimum viable product. So what is the least product that you can produce that somebody will actually find value and make a purchase with? And so a lot of businesses, when they're starting, they're trying to get that product created and figure out what it is that they can do to get the ball rolling, to get people in. So with minimum viable marketing, what we're trying to do is create the shortest distance between, since marketing today and traditional marketing, not traditional marketing, but digital marketing today, a lot of it is based around content. So what is the quickest way to get somebody from being just seeing your content to then being a client? And that's what we're going to be talking about. So what should you be doing with your veterinary hospital? I'm sure every time you go to a conference, every time you listen to somebody online, they're like, okay, you need to be on Snapchat, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and your practice should be on Google Plus, and you should be monitoring all these all the time and creating content, and you need to do SEO and all these things, and on and on and on. But what should you actually be doing? Well, we're going to have to think about how you approach marketing. So the more time that you can spend on your practice marketing, the better it's going to be, just because unless you're an expert and you have it down and systematized, that you have it all very, very simple to create really high quality things, or maybe you have people at your practice who have specific jobs. But if you're like most practices, you just don't have that much time. So how you approach your marketing, for most practices, they approach marketing as a way to get new clients. They're not trying to create compelling stories. They're not a digital ad agency. They just want to get new clients in, and I think that's fantastic. I think your marketing should do a few things. It needs to educate people, it needs to be engaging, and it needs to be entertaining. So if you do those three things, you're going to attract the right people into your practice. And if you're not educating, if you're just competing based on price and just creating ads out there, then you're going to start to attract a type of clientele that you might not be excited about. So if you're trying to attract a good level of client that is, and remember, this is marketing, so you're actually spending time and energy, so you should be attracting the right people that you want to be working with. You don't have to attract the difficult headache cases and the practice and the owners who just never listen to you and then blame you because you didn't do something for free. We're trying to attract the best kind of clients. So I think that with educating, engaging, and drawing people into your practice, most of the marketing that you're going to do is going to revolve around content. So how do we create content that's compelling and interesting and native to that platform that you're going to be using without really spending hours and hours and hours every single week? So let's think about this. We're going to have to reverse engineer this. But first, we need to figure out what to do specifically. So for most every veterinary practice today, I would suggest that you start out with Facebook. Facebook is very user-friendly. You probably use it as a consumer already, and it's easy to understand. So let's just start with Facebook, for example. If you're going to be starting with Facebook, make sure that you get a mastery of Facebook. You understand it good enough before you move on and add another thing. I will make an exception for that. If you add Instagram into that mix of content creation and engagement, I think that's beneficial because the ad platform is integrated. It's all at the same place. The content definitely needs to look different and feel different, but you can create it pretty easily without too much extra work. And then anytime that you run ads to people that you've segmented and created content for, it's going to be beneficial to put it on Instagram as well. That way you can get the benefits of the cheaper distribution. Because right now Instagram is cheaper than Facebook and typically more effective just because it's cheaper. You can get, especially with your top of funnel activities, you can get a lot more distribution on your content for a lot more bang for your buck. I'm finding it's usually 10 times as much views for something than Facebook for the same price, which is just interesting. It, again, depends on how targeted you're being and all these different other things. But before we start, I've mentioned this a few other podcast episodes. There's 3 different levels of engagement that you have with clients and potential clients. First, you have awareness, which is your top of funnel activities. People can't come into your veterinary practice if they've never heard of you. So building awareness is important. You're getting yourself out there. People become aware. Then they can, once they're aware of you, they can consider you and engage with you. So typically that middle of funnel, as we call that middle of funnel content that you create, that's going to be things where you're taking the relationship to the next level. You're asking for an email address. You're asking for a page like. You're asking, depending on what the medium is, you want people to then engage with you. And then finally, once people know you and have some context with you, then you can ask them to be, or ideally you should, you'll be more effective if you do, you'll be able to ask them to come into the practice. And so you're asking for a decision. And typically you do that with a special offer or just, some way to do that. Sometimes people have needs. If they don't have a specific need, you have to create that need. So we need to reverse engineer this. First, when you're figuring out, let's just assume that you're going to do Facebook and Instagram. We need to figure out what it is that you want to be promoting. Now, most practices, I think, should be doing content, creating content for the purpose of educating and then getting people into the door. It's great to put something out there and get, tons of distribution and an amazing amount of likes, but if they're not actually potential clients, it's not going to be helpful for you. And you can't be working for free. You need to be bringing new people in to grow your practice and make sure that you're not going out of business. So what is it that your practice offers? And so this kind of thing, this is something that I think you need to do maybe once every 6 months or once every year. What is it about your practice that is special or different, not available anywhere else, that you can offer, that is something that you would like to offer? It doesn't necessarily have to be different than everybody else, but what is it that you could offer that would provide a lot of value to clients and potential clients to bring them in the door? And so think about this. Ask people, what should we create as an offer to get people in? It could be specialty treatments that you want to focus on. If you have special dentistry skills, like we talked about with Dr. Brett Beckman, or if you have special like lasers, or if you have acupuncture, whatever it is that makes your practice different from everybody else, that's something that'd be really cool to advertise. Another thing that would be cool is if you're willing to give away a service to get people in the door for new clients, or if you're willing to do events, that is educational events that you put on for free at your practice. Whatever it is, you can be as creative. You know your practice better than anyone else. You know what your skills are at your practice, and you know what your strengths are. And so you need to use those to create your unique offers. Now, I would suggest having probably 3 different unique offers. That way you have some kind of rotation. If you keep banging all of your social media contents in the head with, okay, we're just offering this service, and you keep repeating it, there's a thing called ad fatigue, and people get annoyed of seeing the same thing over and over again. So you need to be able to mix it up. And so having a special promotion for a month long with a specific offer, you need to rotate those. And so I would suggest having those 3 offers. Now, once you figure those out, and that's the bottom of the funnel, so we're reverse engineering this, we need to figure out a way to attract people and segment them. So we can do this with content. We can do this with lead magnets. Once you get these things set up, and lead magnets are offers that people will give you their contact info, they'll do a like, they'll advance your relationship in some way, and you give something away in order for that. So either information, you could do guides. So let's say, for example, you're doing a puppy offer that's like a special offer for puppies, right? So you create an amazing guide that is, and so this is time consuming for sure. So you want to make sure that it's broad enough, but still specific to the services that you offer at your practice. So, I'm creating guides for puppy owners, creating guides for kitten owners, creating guides that teach people about the benefits of, laser stuff, or laser treatment, or acupuncture, or, whatever it is, and showing people through some interesting way that makes it say, hey, this seems to be interesting, it's valuable, I want to get it, I'm going to give you my contact info, or I'm going to like the page and engage with you there. So having those that you can reuse over and over again, that's something that once you set those up, you should definitely not just use them once and then go back. One company that is amazing at repurposing content and building offers around the same content over and over and over again is Disney. And that's one thing I love. If you ever pop in a Disney DVD, I have 2 little girls, so I watch Disney movies all the time. And I was watching one the other day, and it said, for the first time ever, and it was like a Jungle Book DVD that they were releasing. It's the special 2-disc DVD, Platinum Edition of the Jungle Book. It's like they're making their 50-year-old cartoon new again by putting it on 2 DVDs instead of 1. And the crazy thing is they sell it like crazy, right? So having content and having that digital asset, you need to really consider it to be a digital asset. But reusing it over and over again, it's something that you absolutely should do. You probably already have content, or maybe you do, have content on your veterinary practice website that you could reuse. You could create it as a Facebook post. You could create it as an Instagram post. You could create it as a video. All kinds of things. You don't have to reinvent the wheel every time. You don't have to be amazingly original, and you can reuse this stuff. You don't have to be a genius every single time you create a marketing piece. So that leads us to the top piece, and that is our top of funnel, which is awareness and staying in front of clients. So typically in marketing, when I'm creating campaigns, I want to be doing activities that are top of funnel engagement every single day, at least once a day per platform. And I find that gets me enough distribution to really figure out who my target audience is and then create campaigns around that. So the top of funnel engagement, this is stuff where you just need to be out there, and it doesn't have to be works of art every time. Obviously, the more you can put into it, the better, but this is stuff like live video, which doesn't have to be perfect all the time. I know a lot of practices feel like they have to be absolutely perfect, they have to be polished, and so creating a video for your practice, that means, okay, I'm going to have to bring in, my DSLR camera. I'm going to have to shoot the film and figure out what we're saying, figure out who's going to be in it, tell them what to say, do 3 or 4 or 5 takes, edit that video, edit intros, do subtitles. It gets really difficult. Creating a short 2-minute video could take you 5 or 6 hours at least, especially if you're not used to creating video content. It's going to be difficult. And so what ends up happening as a result of that? You don't create anything because you don't have the time. I mean, most people that are running practices, they have to do a million other things. And so 6 hours of video editing and creation just isn't there for them. So how can we create engaging content without killing ourselves and without having to, just be a full-time social media person? Well, the way that we do that is to create it on the go. And I think that this is where practices can really just pick up a lot of content. There's so many amazing things happening in your practice all the time. You have amazing patients who come in. You can take pictures of them and use those pictures. Obviously, you want to make sure and get the right consent forms and everything signed. But you have amazing stories, amazing people walking in the door every single day. Something new is always happening. You don't have to be creating content with DSLR cameras. You can use your iPhones. And so if you don't have a practice iPhone or an iPod Touch, absolutely get one. Or a mini iPad, you should get one because it's going to make content creation so much easier. So creating original content like that, I would just do it on the fly and make sure that everybody knows. If you see something interesting, if you know that something interesting is going to be happening, make sure to capture it on the practice iPad or the practice iPhone. And that way you can reuse it. Even if you already have something created for the day, just as much as possible. Get in the habit of documenting. And so that's one thing that I think a lot of practices are not doing, which is documenting. There's a difference between content creation and just documenting. If you're creating a piece of art or if you're creating content, you feel like you have to create a piece of art and something special. But if you're just doing documentation, it's not so difficult. There's not so much burden on you. So people like to see what's going on behind the scenes. They like actual people working in a practice. And I definitely think you should be professional, but don't worry about creating something that's going to win an Oscar, for sure. Just make something that is engaging and entertaining. And best of all, you guys work in the best industry ever for content creation, and people love talking about pets all the time. Just as a side note, I have several Facebook pages that I manage for several other businesses. Every chance I get, I add a puppy picture in there just because it does 10 times better than the normal stuff that I post. So that's just a side note. You guys have no excuse. You're working in the best dang industry for content creation ever. And you have people coming in all the time. So that's one thing. So think about documenting rather than creating the next art piece that you have to put up, So that's one thing. Now, another thing is if you find content that you like, that is interesting, engaging, you don't have to create it yourself. You can use that content. So there's tools like Sniply, which is snip.ly. And what Sniply does is it allows you to put out content and have, like if it's on CNN.com, for example, you could copy and paste that link, post it into Sniply. Sniply will give you a new link, and then on the bottom of that webpage, there will be a call to action button. It's really, really cool how it works. Go to sniply.com. It's free. It's a tool that everybody should be using. Every time that you see something interesting, just post it into a place where you can save it. I use Evernote to keep track of interesting content that I find. You could also use Google Docs. You could put it in a spreadsheet, whatever works for you. But put all of the content and the materials that you're going to be using for marketing in one specific place so that you don't have to go back and look for it and remember what it was. So that's one thing. Sniply is an amazing tool, and it could really change your life. You don't have to then create content. But what is the purpose of this top of funnel content? Sure, it needs to be educational. It needs to be engaging and compelling. But what it's really trying to do, and what I try to do with my top of funnel content distribution, is I am trying to segment my people and find out, first off, who are my people? So we have to go back to that bottom of funnel activity. Those people, we have, let's say, a dental special, a puppy package, and a kitten package, right? Well, if you start posting pictures of horses on your practice page, but you don't offer any horse services, I mean, sure, you could do it every once in a while, especially if there's like an interesting news story about a horse that saved somebody, or, who knows what. But if you're talking about, horse specific problems, it's going to be a waste of time, even if it gets great engagement. So we need to create context with people who are just finding out and create content that is going to appeal to our people. And so you can do this by, posting puppy-specific things, posting interesting things around the topic that you're creating offers for. So what is so amazing about Facebook right now, and you get this benefit through Instagram as well, is that you can create ads that are retargeted towards people who engage with your content, people who engage with your videos. And so now you don't even have to really do that middle step where you're asking people to opt in. The actual middle step of having people find out about you and then serving some things that are interesting to them, offers that are interesting and relevant to them. You don't have to go and ask for their email address and then do an email follow-up campaign. You can then create a piece of content on Facebook. Let's say you're doing a special class, or you have a puppy and you're just explaining the benefits of certain products and things like that. If somebody watches that video all the way through, you can market to that person and say, I want to market to people who watch this video for at least 75% of the time. And then you can show an offer that says, here's a special for puppy owners. So if you create something that's very specific to puppy owners, that only puppy owners are going to find interesting, then when you serve up an ad that shows an offer specific to puppy owners, they're going to be more likely to take it. So we're just trying to connect the right offer with the right audience. And so the way that we do that is through engagement, and then segment them, and then show them the offer. And so we're just trying to get there in the shortest way possible. And so in the execution of that, how do you actually do that? Now, you're trying to get the fastest way to drive somebody from your content to being a client. And so I think that the easiest way to do that right now is through native content. So anytime that you have to get your web developers involved, or you have to know programming, or you have to sit down at your computer and start typing, right? So switch activities, that makes it more difficult. So figure out what the point of friction is for you in creating your content, and actually sit down and think about it. I'm sure that most people in practice think to themselves, oh man, I really need to do this in our practices marketing. And what I hear a lot of times is, I haven't updated our Facebook page in weeks now, and I really, really need to be doing that. I feel bad that I've dropped the ball there. So what is it that's keeping you from doing that? Typically, I see that you have to switch gears. You have to get in that mode. And so going through something just as simple as, I'm going to just whip out my phone and create some content today. And that's going to be good. And I guarantee that, creating some kind of content, especially if it's with the phone, it's more real, it's definitely relevant. You're going to get cheaper distribution because it's going to be very, very relevant to the geographic area that you're doing, especially if you're tagging your area, which you absolutely should be in all your Facebook posts. But it is going to help you to actually create something that you're going to be able to publish and get out there. And then stay in front of your clients, and then get in front of prospective clients. So don't feel like you need to create an amazing marketing funnel. You need to have a landing page that's special for, everything that you're doing. And so anytime that you can create a system where you don't have to have additional pieces, you're going to get better conversion, and it's going to be easier for you to execute. So an example of this, and this is something I've talked about a few times in the past too, is that in order to increase your conversion, to make marketing campaigns a lot more quickly, you can just create a piece of content that maybe explains a special offer. You could create a picture that says, receive 20% off for dental month, comment below, and we'll send you a message on details, right? So just asking people to take action within the app, take action natively, and then engage them through messaging and convert them there, where you collect their contact info and then you call them, right? So that's an easy way to do it. And so explain and set expectations properly. So within Facebook and Instagram, the easy ways to do that are, if Instagram, they now have the contact or call now button, which is really, really cool. So you could just put in the post, your special offer. You could serve it to a certain group of people, and then just say, call us now to book an appointment, and then have people call directly. Or you could just have it say that, hey, if you're interested, comment below, and we'll send you a message. And the message could be a scheduling app, or, however it is that you book people in your practice. And typically I find that having people respond with phone numbers and then calling them, I would always message the phone numbers so that they're not publicly out there. But you don't have to create a bunch of difficult steps. You can just engage with people just like they engage their friends. And so think about that. When you're engaging on Facebook or Instagram and you find something that's interesting, how do you typically do that? Do you tag your friends? Do you what is it? How do you actually take advantage of that offer? And so what's really amazing about Facebook, and I think that they're going to be going through this kind of transformation where, I don't know if you've noticed, but on Facebook Messenger, you can call your friends and your family through Messenger, and it works just like a phone system. And so typically the kind of process of implementation for Facebook is it goes through personal profiles, and then it goes through select business profiles, and then it goes to all business profiles. And so what they've done is they've created an amazing system where you can send money to your friends, you can call your friends, you can send all kinds of messages. They've really rolled out a bunch of features within Pages so that you can create and send messages with people. You can tag people in there. It works almost like a CRM now. I think that having that call feature in there is going to be very, very soon. People are going to be able to call prospective clients, right? If you just send a message and people engage with you in Messenger, you can then call them or video chat with them. A bunch of really cool things. And so I would start moving more towards that instead of creating more web pages that are built around your funnels. I would start creating more native content, and that's going to let you create more content, be more easy to reach, and increase your conversion across the board for sure. So if you have any questions about this, please let me know. I hope that you enjoyed today's episode. And if there's anything that I can do for you, please don't hesitate to reach out. And don't forget to subscribe to the podcast in iTunes or Google Play. And I hope that you have an amazing week. Next week we have a really cool guest, so I'm excited about it. And I will see you on next week's episode. Have a great week.